Hello and welcome. What you're seeing right now is sort of a prototype that I was messing around a bit on because I'd hoped to make a full game out of what I thought was the best elements taken from Minecraft Survival, which Minecraft didn't exactly flesh out very well. You can probably already tell there's a lot of bugs involved because it is a very, very early prototype, not even alpha, very early prototype because it's been put on back burners due to needing various assets, 3D models, in particular a Unity Pro license so that I can get some of the features on that, such as image post-processing and that sort of things. So instead I switched to a different project. And this is A Castle Without Wind. It is essentially a very retro-looking roguelike, and for good reason. It's based off of Castle of the Winds, a very important game from my childhood, and it shares a lot of similarities, but it does have a lot of differences. Some of the core mechanics that I plan on adding will be very different, but the map generation that is in this current build, because there's nothing else in it, is very similar to Castle of the Winds. I tried to emulate it to some extent while adding some of my own personal twists to it, so you may find it a bit different from Castle of the Winds if you come from playing Castle of the Winds. Otherwise, it's fairly similar. As far as other similarities, you see, obvious graphic similarities to Castle of the Winds. I did make the graphics entirely myself from scratch in graphic scale, but they do bear a lot of similarities. I tried to use a similar or the same color palette when I could, so that it would look very similar, so that I could actually get in the mood to finish developing the game, because it's sort of a good motivator whenever I have the game looking more and more like my favorite game as I develop it. Now, if you want to download the game, the download is in the description, and if you do, you'll want to know some of the controls involved. First, if you press S near a hidden door, it will reveal it immediately. There's no stats involved, there's no intelligence checks, because there's no intelligence in the game yet. But otherwise, you just press S near a door, or a place that you think a hidden door is. They look like walls by default, and if you press S, it will reveal the door. That is rebindable, as all keys are. However, if you come from Castle of the Winds, there are differences. Not among them is map, which is M, and it's, the same. There's a little frame around the character showing you where you are. But what is different is you can use the arrow keys, or, up, down, left, and right, depending on how you rebind them, to move diagonally, instead of just using the numpad. So right now I'm going to press up and left at the same time, and I moved, and I can hold, and I can move. Eventually that movement speed will be configurable, and so will the map sizes, but for now they're constant, and so are the textures and the character icon, which I hope to eventually make changeable, so you can personalize your character as I have. Otherwise this current build just have the default character that looks very similar to the original Speedo Man. And for other controls, they're very similar. You can use the numpad, and again, if you don't have a numpad, if you're using a 10 keyless keyboard, for example, you can always just switch that over to something else in the configuration dialog. There's no mouse support yet, but eventually there will be. There's no traps or any way to die in these dungeons. There's just the dungeon generator. But otherwise, it's fairly interesting. If you press Control while entering something, while pressing the Interact key, you will regenerate the dungeon. So I want to keep that in the final build, just as Castle of the Winds has it, because I feel that, once you get the game, if you want to play the way you want to play, it's up to you if you want to regenerate a map. And sometimes it helps if you encounter a bug and you need to regenerate the map to help you out in that situation anyway. Don't believe there's any other specifically difficult controls, so I'll let you figure anything out that I may have missed. Let's see, anything else that I want to make clear? Well, for one thing, I really want to hear your opinion on roguelikes in general, especially if you've played Castle of the Winds, but even if you haven't played any roguelikes, I'm still interested in what you have to say. If you have any questions or concerns about roguelikes in general, if you have played games that you want to see similar features in A Castle Without Winds as another game you've played, or that sort of thing, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to read them and possibly even respond. Otherwise, you can just test it out yourself, and I will see you next time.